What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 10, episode 8. And baby, Stacy is a liar. Okay, that lady be telling white lies all over the place. Okay, but one thing I'm gonna give her is she know how to back the girls up off of her, and they can't take it. And I am very much entertained. I also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, whether you're with your family, with friends, or doing Thanksgiving by yourself. Know that you are loved and everything's going to be okay. It's been a stressful year, but I still think we all have certain things that we can be thankful for. So I'm thankful for y'all. So I hope you enjoy this video. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I honestly only have two things to talk to y'all about. So first up, let's talk about an update to the I guess it's a court case, legal situation of copyright between Eminem versus Robin and Giselle. Okay. So today, which is November the 26th, an article was released by Page Six. I'm not going to read the article, but I will read the excerpt that Housewives Hub posted. But I will link the Page Six article in the description box below. Okay. So it starts off like this. Eminem is accusing Giselle Bryant and Robin Dixon of harassment in their ongoing reasonably shady trademark battle. The RHOP stars say he's been difficult to schedule for a deposition, while Eminem claims their incessance of a start time dispute is harassment. Giselle and Robin launched their podcast in 2021 and filed a trademark for it in 2022. Eminem opposed, saying it could confuse fans with his Slim Shady and Shady brands. Both sides are standing firm. Hashtag RHOP, source Page Six. Now, I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot about this. Like, I remember talking about this maybe like a year or two ago, but I thought maybe they had settled quietly because, Giselle and Robin have still been doing their podcast, but I didn't know it was still going on. What it sounds like to me is that Eminem and his legal team are trying to do a strategy of not coming to court or prolonging actually having the actual deposition to the point where Giselle and Robin either give up or they exhaust the money they allotted for this trial. But either way, you won't allow them to use the shady reference. Why not just meet up in court and settle and move on? I don't know. I just feel like this is a frivolous lawsuit because, to be honest, I don't believe the reasonably shady fan base is the same as Eminem, aka Slim Shady. And I feel as though bringing up this lawsuit is doing the reverse of what he wanted, which was not wanting people to associate his brand with Reasonably Shady. But I'm going to be honest, when I think of Reasonably Shady, I don't think of Eminem. But now I kind of do, knowing that this battle is going on. And that's not to say that he doesn't have a right to vet people in order to make sure that they don't infringe on his intellectual property, but this just feels like more of a hassle, if you ask me. So, moving on, let's talk about Monique. This is so out of like left field. It's wild, okay? So this was posted on Instagram, and I'm going to start with this Instagram post and then I'm going to go to Twitter next. So this was posted by Mr. Housewives, and it says this: videos of Monique Samuels getting her neck licked by a mystery man resurface online. Okay, now let's get into what he posted for the caption of this post. So he starts off the caption like this: swipe to view the video. It says, well, this is interesting. I'm not sure how old these videos are, but clips are resurfacing on Monique Samuels and a mystery man looking very in love. In the first video, Monique is recording the two of them being affectionate. He's kissing all over her neck and even gives her a little lick at the end. In the second video, she's filming herself driving while he's knocked out in the passenger seat. He goes on to say, honestly, I think he's cute, definitely cuter than her ex-husband, Chris Samuels. He had to say that. He says, now I have no idea who this man actually is, but word on the curb is that he allegedly is married and known around DMV for cheating on his wife, allegedly, okay? I don't know how true that is. And as always, you didn't hear any of this from me. I'm not the type to gossip. What are your thoughts? Comment below. So I wanted to do the Instagram post first because I think he did a good job summarizing what's happening. So like he said, Mr. Housewife said in his caption, these two videos, the one of this man, who we find out his name is Jason Weems, licking and kissing over Monique, popped up on Twitter on Sunday night of episode 8. Then following day, I ended up seeing the video I just played for you guys of her in the car riding with him. So I was so confused because I was like, where did people get these videos from? Because if you go to Monique's Instagram and Jason's Instagram, you don't see these videos. So I'm like, who sent these people these videos? So the way that I came across this information initially was this page right here called, I think it's Lejagen, Lelajen 930-20439, and they posted the video with the caption saying, Monique and her lies, how about you explain you and this married man, hashtag RHOP. And I was like, what is this? Again, my mind was like, where did you get this from? Like, was Monique hacked? Did like, who sent this to you? Okay. So everybody was like gagged when they saw this video, and especially with the married man part. So a Twitter user by the name of Cuban Link commented under the initial post saying, wait, tell us the tea. And they never responded to her. But this one page by the name of Zeke Love 12 said, this is the married man everyone in the DMV knows Monique is messing with, and why all the staff at the radio station complained about them carrying on the station. Yeah, she's the demonic one. And so then Cuban Link responded by saying, OMG, this is tea. Now, all of this is alleged. Like, none of us have any concrete proof about any of this, but this is all speculation. I will say, when I saw that Zeke Lover 12 said this, I was like, girl, is this Cookie on her Finsta, on her burner account, or does Cookie got shooters? Because I was like, that's a huge accusation to throw out there, because I do remember Monique left the radio station, but I assume she said something to the effect of like wanting to spend more time with her children. But I would hope that Monique didn't lose her job over this man. But the main reason why I thought this could have been a Cookie shooter or a Cookie on her burner account is the part about she's the demonic one, because we know that's what Monique referred to Cookie as when she sat down with Wendy. But then I went on TikTok and I saw that Giorgio Said made a video as well. So let me play that for you guys.
For the purpose of this video, everything that is mentioned is alleged or based on public information. So in case you missed it yesterday, the Neighborhood Talk posted what they identified as Monique with her former co-host Jason Weems in a video together. And in the comment section of the Neighborhood Talk post, commenters were speculating all kinds of things in the comment section about the situation. But back in January of 2025, January 8th to be exact, I was sent the same video privately and decided I would post a blind item about it. And in a now archived post, I made a blind item that did not give any specific details. Very, very broad. And the next day on January 10th, I received this message from D. Carter saying, "You're messy as and I hope you get slapped with a lawsuit." The message was in response to the blind item, but no photo or video was posted. And at the same time of receiving that video, I was also sent a screenshot that is showing what appears to be metadata claiming this video was filmed May 23rd of 2023 at 1:10 p.m. So from my perspective, I'm only clarifying the timeline in which I have based on what was sent to me. But you guys can let me know what you think down below.
So this is wild to me. So once I saw all this information, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I went a digging because I was like, people can lie on anybody nowadays. So I was like, is this really true? I did go and type in his name, and if you go on Google, this picture popped up on the radio station's Facebook. So it does look like Monique and him were working together. And then I decided to head over to his Instagram. And I scrolled down a little bit and I did see this post, and it is dated August the 2nd, 2024, where he is announcing his wife being on the radio station with them on that day for a segment. Now, the most important part about his caption, it says this: "Tune in today at 8:40 a.m. as my wife, Dion Joyner Weems, joins us on air at at the Good Morning Show, WPGC on WPGC." So at least until August the 2nd, 2024, he was still referring to this lady as his wife. Now, he could be in the midst of a separation, potentially a divorce. We know based off of Ashley that she told us that in the state of Virginia, you do have to be separated for at least a year in order to file for a divorce. So maybe he's divorced or in the process of getting a divorce. Now, I did go to Monique's page to see if she responded to any of this. And this is what I saw on her Insta stories. She posted a video of this guy saying, "Life doesn't change until you do." So he was speaking about people doing the inner work. Then the next slide says, "Sis, breathe. There's no award for overworked female of the year." Then the next slide said, "Pure hearts notice pure hearts. Stay real and the right people will come to you." Then she posted a video of herself, in her new outfit. And then the last one I saw said, "I choose me, end of story." So I'm trying to figure out if that's her way to respond to all of this, because people definitely want a response. I just want to know, how did people get their hands on these videos? Like, we know from what Giorgio said in his video that someone sent him the videos, or one of the videos. But the one with her driving, that popped up randomly. And I'm like, did Monique's phone get hacked? Did maybe Chris or Jason's wife see these and then they sent them to people? It's just like, it's weird because I don't think Jason or Monique would post this information. So I'm just like, who did y'all piss off? I like, this just is weird. But hopefully Monique will clean it up, because a lot of people are now trying to create a narrative of like either they were messing around when she was still married to Chris, or they were messing around and she was divorced from Chris, but Jason was still married. It's not a good look on Monique, and it would make no sense to me for her to try to come back to this show to rehab her image and really have a clean slate, to now they're going to be asking you like, "Girl, are you a home wrecker? Are you sleeping with a married man? Close your legs to married men." Like, that's the type of energy I feel like is coming her way. I definitely think she's probably going to be on Watch What Happens Live as a friend of, and somebody in the audience or maybe a viewer might send a question. So hopefully she has a nice answer for them so she can lay this to rest and move forward, because this is really like I said, out of left field, because girl, what is this? But let's get into the review. All right, y'all. So let's get into this episode. So it opens up, and we are still at the bar waiting for the float to come. So the ladies are just mixing and mingling at the bar. So you see Kiarna go to Monique, and she's like, "Hey, do you know Stacy?" And Monique immediately is like, "No, I don't know her. I don't know this lady." And I don't know if production told Kiarna to do this, but just because production told you to do something, you don't have to do it. We've heard the women say it many of times, well, they wanted me to do this, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it, so I didn't do it. You can also tell that Kiarna is not quick enough on this show. Now, I don't think Kiarna is stupid, but I think that everybody reacts differently in high pressure situations, myself included. Like sometimes I feel like I can have the best responses, be so personable with people, but there's times where I am very like introverted and I don't know what to say and my brain just doesn't, it's not moving fast enough. But you can tell that with Kiarna because at the moment that Monique said she did not know Stacy, there was no point to continue to try to ask her or tell her that Stacy was messing around with Chris Samuels because I'm like, she don't know her. So she doesn't owe Monique any loyalty. Now, is it weird for Stacy to try to talk to somebody's ex-husband who is a part of the Real Housewives of Potomac? It is slightly weird because it's like, girl, there's plenty of men in DC. You don't need to talk to this one. But does she owe Monique anything? No, no, she does not. Okay. So Kiarna tries to have a moment. It falls completely flat because she gets into the middle of the huddle of the group and she's like, well, Stacy, didn't you say you seen her around town all the time and you guys are like cool? And Stacy is looking at Kiarna and so is everybody else like, girl, what are you talking about? I don't know her. I told y'all I don't know her. So she was like, but I thought you did. And it got awkward. So then Giselle jumps into the conversation and she's like, oh, Stacey knows Chris Samuels. Like she's cool with Chris Samuels. So then Kiana's like, all I heard was Samuels. I said, girl, this was a horrible way to try to like clear things up. So then she's like, well, isn't that your ex-husband, Monique? And she's like, yes. And so, well, Stacy's. Then Kiana follows it up with like, well, Stacy dated him. So Wendy and Stacy are looking at Kiana like, wow. And I think they ended up saying like, wow, really, Kay? Like, this is what we doing? That's messy. And so in the confessional, Stacy is like, I only know this man socially. The women can calm down. Like, it's not that deep. Everybody take a moment, take a beat. So Monique ends up saying, well, we've been almost divorced for 2 years. I would expect him to be dating. And then in the confessional, she's like, I left that man. I don't care who he's with, as long as she's good with kids. So then Kiana's in her confessional being like, well, everyone thinks Stacy is this one way, but Stacy has her ways. And here's the thing. Stacy does lie. Like I said on the thumbnail, like I said in the intro, the issue for the women is one, Stacy is entertaining. Also, Stacy has a good poker face and she is so matter of fact when she says things to the women that they don't know how to really take her. They don't know how to take her. Two, it's the way in which these women are coming at Stacy. Like Stacy lied twice this episode and got caught up. I feel as though if they would ease up on their responses to her, because they didn't even go this hard on Mia, and Mia was blatantly lying her first season. Couldn't even tell us how old she was. Couldn't do the math, all right? But they did not really give Mia the blues the way that they're giving Stacy. But people came to their own conclusions, i.e., the fans. And once you start piecing her stories together, and it's like none of this makes sense. I don't know why they're not doing the same thing with Stacy. It's like it's overkill with her. Giselle with not putting her name on the robe, on the makeup bag, on the blanket, not the blanket, the towel, or are not giving her a nickname when they were doing shots. You doing too much. You just look like a mean old lady. Ashley constantly saying stuff to Stacey about not being genuine and authentic, but we've been seeing you for the past 10 seasons and you should have been going season 6 because you keep giving us the same washed up, tired storyline. I just saw the preview for next episode and Ashley is confronting her mom once again about leaving her husband. And it's like, Ashley, she's not going to leave that man. We find out just a little bit more information in that preview that Sheila has been with that man for 23 years and he's an alcoholic. And it's like, If she hasn't left in 23 years, girl, maybe if you created boundaries with her and actual consequences for her actions, she would back up off that man. But it's just like, I'm tired of Ashley screaming about people being authentic and real when you've been peddling the same storyline since like season 3 or 4. So shut up. Now you got Kiarna and Angel. Angel is just trying to get in where she fit in, but nobody cares. Kiarna keeps trying to whack Stacy and she's so eager to get her, but every time she feels like she has a gotcha moment on Stacy, she keeps getting ate up. Like the only time Kiarna really got Stacy was the first episode. And after that, Stacy has been winning. And now we have Tia. Granted, I think Tia had every right to confront Stacy, but girl, you did a 180 and you should have did a 100-degree turn. So time has kind of, lapsed a little bit. The women are still at the bar drinking and dancing, waiting for the float. So then we see Ashley take it upon herself to confront Stacy about using a Yoruba name for her business. She's like, I think naming your business a Yoruba name is kind of weird. And I'm like, Ashley, who made your biracial ass the Nigerian representative? You did that with NECA and the whole Osu thing, and now you're doing it with Stacy. Like, girl, just because you may sleep with Yoruba or Igbo men, Nigerians, girl, go somewhere and sit down. No one cares about what you have to say. So then Giselle is like, really? Like, it's like, what did you name your business? And she was like, it's called Shayo. So then they were like, well, why did you pick this name or this term? And Stacy's like, well, my family did a DNA test and I want to represent my roots. So then Tia brings up the distinction between ancestry and heritage. And there is a difference. Like, I'm pretty sure, if not all of us who are Black Americans, have African ancestry. Okay. Our people were enslaved over here, our ancestors. So I pretty much can believe that. But culturally, and our heritage is not that. So I can understand why people think it's weird, because even I think it's weird. I really do feel like Stacey should have picked a different name. Maybe, again, I think Spacey Stacey was perfect. I do. But what about like Stacey's Bites or Stacey's Moves or Stacey? It's just something, it needed to be different, girl, because the fact that you didn't even know that you were pronouncing the name wrong, because Wendy was like, well, if you're going to use the name, you should at least use it correctly. You're not pronouncing it correctly. And so then Tia says it's Shayor or Shayor, not Shayo. Even though there's no R in the word, that's how they pronounce it. And so Giselle starts laughing. And I was like, well, Stacey, this is what you get. And Wendy was getting get back on Stacey, because you can't tell me when they sat down on last episode, episode 7, that Wendy didn't clock that she was saying the name incorrectly, but she busted her out in front of the group. And I mean, it's deserved, because Stacey, that was a weird move. It was weird. It was weird. So Stacey pivots and she's like, well, I'm so glad that you guys are educating me on this, Thank you to my Nigerian sisters. And I said, Stacey, you a mess. You're a mess. So then you see Ashley and Angel have a conversation, and Ashley's like, another instance of her not being genuine. It just feels like a money grab. That's what it kind of feels like. So then Angel tries to jump into the conversation saying, Stacey, what is your social justice component? Which is a good point, because I do believe if you have a cannabis line, especially if you're white, you should be sowing into reforms for all the Black and brown people who are locked up for selling weed throughout like the 80s, the 90s, and in the 2000s. Like, you should not be able to make this money when there's still people who had less than a gram of weed on them in jail for like 10 and 15 years. So into the community. But the way in which Stacey dismissed her and then the group dismissed Angel, I said, ooh, girl, they do not see it for you. Because Stacey looked at her like, girl, so anyways, I just want to say I thank you for the lessons, lady. And are we good? And so everyone's like, ooh, Stacey. And so then Angel's like, okay, don't be rude. You don't gotta be rude. And then in the confessional, Angel is like, Stacey just totally dismissed me. Like, I'll just have to be the classy one for the both of us. And I said, girl, not only did Stacey just dismissed you, the group dismissed you because Kiana didn't say, ooh, Stacey, don't do that. Giselle didn't say that. Ashley didn't say that. Monique didn't say anything. Wendy didn't say anything. Tia didn't say anything. Nobody defended you. Everybody kind of just played you to the left. Like, yes, Stacey dismissed you, but you should have read the room and said the group dismissed you too, girl. They don't see it for you, Miss Angel. So the float finally gets there. Wendy is like, girl, what does GNA really stand for? She was like, and why do they have a float? She's like, first it was fashions. They flash back to season 8 with the fashion show, and you see Candace saying, girl, all of this looks hot. And it did. Then what's it called? Wendy brings up how last season they were dancing on the rooftop doing like aerobics, and she's just like, "Is this a tax front?" I said, "Girl, you can't make them comments, Miss Insurance Fraud." You can't make the comments. But I mean, yeah, I think GNA is just for TV purposes. Like it seems as though they only have events when the show is happening, but nothing really is going on when the show is off. Same thing with Wendy and her YouTube channel, because I have yet to see like GNA promote events beyond the show. Like if it really is supposed to be about sewing into the community and philanthropy, like why are y'all not doing events like year round? Not until it's time to film. So I said, okay. The float was actually cute. Everyone's dancing and having a good time. And then Ashley tells us a story about her coming out, how she had a crush on a girl at church. She told her grandma. Her grandma didn't welcome her with open arms, but also didn't think she was like nasty towards her. Then Ashley said she never told anybody anything until she was 14. And then when she was older, she was able to go to Black DC Pride because there is a difference and I want to go. Okay, it looks lit, and a lot of my friends that have attended say they have a good time all the time. And she says, she found her people. And so she was like, her grandma now is like, okay, you bring home a man, a woman, whoever, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. So that's good to know that she has a family that cares and supports her. So then we see the ladies get to this restaurant and they're all sitting down. The best part of this conversation was the way that Grace, Kyle, and I think the other men were Ashley's friends, were looking at Giselle, Monique, and the rest of the ladies having this conversation with the look of like, girl, what's about to go down? Because this could go left real quick, but I'm invested. So Giselle starts the conversation basically saying, like, Monique, I wasn't expecting you being here. I said, girl, we know the way that you kept trying to fix your hat when she walked up in there. Giselle was caught off guard. And she's like, but I'm glad that Giselle basically says your energy seems different. So then Wendy jumps into the conversation and is like, so things were different, like your life was different. Like it seems like a lot has changed. What happened, and especially between you and Chris. So Monique basically said, that they just had a good image. So they flash back to when they had their rainbow party because the baby before her third child, unfortunately, she had a miscarriage. So then they had a rainbow party because she ended up getting pregnant, having a rainbow baby. And it seems great, but she was just like, she wasn't being loved properly. She goes on to say that things actually got worse like at home where like we just weren't seeing eye to eye. Then they flash back to when she was telling Chris that she wanted more of like a date night, more time spent together, him putting in more actions, not just her always planning everything. And she then goes on and tells the women that she knew when her daughter was 6 months old that her marriage was over. And I'm going to be honest, I was like, then why did you get pregnant again? Not once, but twice, because her daughter is the middle child. It goes her oldest, who's I think Chris Jr., then her daughter Melania, then Chase, and then the miscarriage happened between Melania and Chase. And I don't look at miscarriages all the time as being a bad thing. Yes, the emotions that are wrapped around it, like, yeah, women being excited, families being excited about new life, like that is sad. That is sad. But I also look at them sometimes being a way of the universe or God telling you you're not ready or not right now. Because if you did have this miscarriage, I'm just kind of like, well, why didn't we like take that as a sign? This relationship is over. Let me find another person if I want to have another child and have a baby with them. Like this don't make that don't make sense to me. Why bring another child into this relationship and you're not happy? Because that puts more strain on you, and then now you're angry at yourself that you decided to do this. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So she also goes on to tell Giselle that, even though we butted heads, some of the things that you touched upon, you were right. And they talk about when they were in Paris, and I think that was season 3, because you do see Candace in the background, and I think Paris was their season 3 trip. But Monique was talking about how, her and Chris always have the worst fights around her birthday. And Giselle basically told her, like, do you think it's because your birthday is about you and not about him? And then Monique also talks about how, Giselle, you're always saying how when you're dealing with men who are used to the spotlight and they no longer have it and you start to get it, they become resentful. And she was just like, some of the things you were saying were true. Giselle was like, see, I knew Monique would wake up. But we're going to have to be honest. Giselle did not tell Monique those things to like be nice to her. Giselle really just did not see it for Monique. I do agree that Monique was not being her authentic self, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Giselle was just giving her advice because she cared. I'm not. I mean, even though the advice she gave or the critique she gave was true, we're not going to act like Giselle did it because she cared about Monique. So Tia ends up asking her, well, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? And Monique basically says that she noticed that he would only be nice to her when he wanted something. So she was like, let me test this theory. And she had sex with him. And then immediately he just rolled over and she felt like a piece of meat. She felt like very used. And she said the next day when she spoke to him, she told him, you will no longer be able to enter me ever again. And everyone's at the table like, girl, enter you. Like, why did you use that verbiage, girl? But yeah, she basically said that she was done with that. And so everyone's just like, well, at least you got out of the relationship and you seem happier now. She also says that her marriage lasted longer because she was arguing with the women and not Chris. But I'm also like, y'all only filmed for like 5 or 6 months. So you're telling me for the other 6 months, y'all were arguing like that and that wasn't enough for you to be like, I don't want this relationship? I'm going to be honest. Yes, was Chris a Neanderthal, very much a caveman? Like, I go get the food and bring it back. You're supposed to cook, clean, and do everything. Yeah. But also Monique is so obsessed with how people perceive her and wanting to be perceived a certain way. She made that relationship harder as well. Because I do remember Chris telling her, girl, if you need the help and you want the help, we have the money to get help. Granted, he should be emotionally invested in his children and he should be helping around the house. But if he's telling you, I will give you the money to get a personal chef, a nanny, and a personal assistant, why not take it? And Monique never wanted to take it because she did not want to be perceived for like being a gold digger, which I'm like, girl, screw that. The point in which you marry somebody and have kids for them, his money is your money. And that's also why she caught so much flack for like the not for lazy moms, like her business, because a lot of women were pointing out that, one, girl, you have a husband, but two, you have a rich husband. Your plight when it comes to your kids is not the same of like single mothers or women who are married to like blue collared men. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, girl, his money is my money, especially once I have kids. His money is my money and my money is my money. Okay. So the next scene we have is of Angel and Bobby. They're with their realtor and they're looking at a new house. The house was actually really nice, to be honest. Like, I thought it fit their vibe. Like, the decor of the house was really nice. The backyard was a decent size. They had land. They had chickens and geese in the backyard. The pool was nice, but they ended up passing on the house because they felt like it wasn't big enough. Because they were like, we want a lot of family over. And I'm like, well, we haven't really seen a lot of their family other than Bobby's mom and Angel's dad. So I'm just like, does the sister have like like a husband and a lot of kids, or do they just host their friends a lot? Because I'm just like, girl, this house seems big enough for the two little kids, you, your man, and your in-laws. But that's just me. So as they're walking around the house, Angel talks about like they want to be a bi-coastal family. Now, people were like, girl, did she pull a Mia? And technically, I don't think she did, but I think she did because bi-coastal to me means like places on the East Coast and the West Coast. So technically, Colorado is the West. Like I googled it, I thought it would be considered Midwest, which would not mean it's bi-coastal, like in the center of the United States. But when you do a map and you say like which one it is, it says that it's a part of the West. So I don't think she pulled a Mia, even though people online were like, girl, that's not bi-coastal. And I was like, I think it is. But pretty much they're keeping their Colorado home. She also explains that it took them 4 years in order to find that home. So even though this process of trying to find a house in the DMV area has been strenuous, it's also something that they're not like foreign to. So we see them sit outside. Bobby got some nice thighs. Okay. Everybody was talking about them thighs. I said, I love me a big man with some nice thighs and some nice arms. Okay. Bobby is cute. So they're sitting out on the patio. And basically, Angel was like, now that we're seated, can we have a conversation? Angel is still really bothered about the whole catfish situation. And her husband even looks annoyed with her because it's kind of like, Angel, what else do you want from this? Like, what else do you want? So she's just like, I just feel like it was totally out of line for Giselle to say what she said. She was like, I felt totally blindsided. And then she felt like Wendy's trying to explain what catfish meant was actually very unnecessary. And she was just disappointed in Wendy for adding sauce to what Giselle said. Mind you, every time they go to the flashback, Wendy is just obnoxiously laughing. She was that an asshole move? Yes, but like she didn't say the word. Giselle was the one that says, I feel like I got straight catfish. So then Angel explains how it's hard for her to let this stuff go. And I was like, we see that, girl, but you're making it worse. And so Bobby says, this is understandable, but also, do you think it is that serious? And she was like, well, it just felt very disrespectful. And you know how hard it is for me to get over that. So she's like, I just feel like I need to mention it to the ladies about how I feel. Angel really needs to let this go. And it's sad that she doesn't understand by constantly talking about this, it's going to be shown all on the show. Um, I still stand by what I said in my previous review for episode 6 and 7. I know Angel has been hit with the colorism allegations, but for me, that's not where my mind initially went with this situation. I think Angel feels like her and Wendy are on the same level because she knew Wendy before she got on this show. They went to college together. And I think she thought that maybe there would be some type of camaraderie between them, or Wendy wouldn't be jumping in on like the teasing of her. And I think she's like, oh my God, how dare you? That's why she's disappointed, because she thought Wendy would like somewhat have her back. But I'm also like, you have not treated Wendy well because you're friends with Kiarna. Angel, you have to call a thing a thing. Also, the reason why Angel won't let this go is because she is uncomfortable in the body she's in right now. The pictures that they have shown us of Angel before she had her kids and before she had her second baby, she was slim thick. Her stomach was flat, but she had some thighs and she had a little bit of weight on her. Right now, Angel has a gut. That's why she had that purse sitting on her lap, because she's not comfortable with the way that she looks, and that's why she won't let this go. So next we get this scene of, I think it was Giselle, Ashley, Kiarna, and Tia going to this restaurant. Pretty much in this scene, we see Kiarna tell the women that Cookie was called her, or no, she called Cookie. Cookie was on the phone with her. Chris called her and she was like, hey, let me click over for a minute. Then she clicked back over to Kiarna, let Kiarna know that Chris was really pissed off because he heard that Monique was talking really bad about him, saying that they had bad sex and that he treated her like a piece of meat. And they're like, oh my God, well, how did he find out about this information? And Kiarna's like, Stacy. So now Giselle and Ashley's like, here we go. So then Tia is like, who is Cookie? Like, who's Cookie? Giselle lets it be known that Cookie does not like Stacy. And then Ashley co-signs is like, yeah, Cookie don't like Stacy. And I'm just like, okay, so consider the source. Because this is the thing. Could I see Stacy calling Chris Samuels and telling him this stuff? Yeah, I could. I definitely could. But I'm also not trusting of Cookie, because Cookie has made it very, very, very clear that like she does not like Stacy. Even when they were at what's the name of that restaurant? Tally Ho, when they were at Tally Ho, and she was like, well, he don't want that funky girl in his house. And what do you mean he's talking to her? Like, she seems like she liked that man, and anybody that has interest in him or he might be interested in is like public enemy number one. So I don't know if Cookie is telling the truth. I really don't. But we find out that Giselle is having a reasonably shady party where she's going to be celebrating a 10 million downloads of their podcast, her and Robin. They started it during the pandemic. They didn't really have anything to do. And so basically, they want to celebrate this monumental moment. So Cookie's going to be at this party, and the scene basically ends with Ashley saying Cookie is ready to sing like a canary child. So next thing you know, we have this sit down with Monique and Wendy. Both of them seem to be really open to getting to know each other and, moving forward. Wendy was surprised that Monique reached out to her because she was just like, I wasn't going to reach out to her because, girl, you beat up my friend. Okay, I was not going to reach out to her. But Monique reveals that Wendy was the first person to reach out to her after what went down during season 5. She was like, you were the first person to reach out to me, but all hell broke loose. So they were never able to actually have a relationship and stuff like that. So Monique ends up asking Wendy about like Giselle, like, how is that relationship? And Wendy basically says that like her and Giselle are actually friends. And you could tell that Monique had this look in her eye, like she was hopeful. I will always like say that Monique wanted to be friends with Giselle. Like, if Giselle would have welcomed Monique season 2, I do not believe everything that went down season 5 would have went down, because Monique wanted to be friends with that lady. And the look in her eyes when Wendy was like, oh no, I consider her a friend, was like, oh, like this could happen for me. Now, I do think when they have their sit down, because Wendy was like, no, you should sit down and have a conversation with her. I do not believe that it's going to be anything like jaw dropping. I think actually Giselle might take some responsibility and accountability and actually apologize to Monique. And I think Monique might apologize for some of her things, but I don't think it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight, because Monique wants to move forward and Giselle don't want to go back. So it is what it is. Um, they then start talking about Karen, because Monique ends up saying something to the effect of like, sometimes forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation. And I do agree with that. And so she's like, how are you and Karen? And Wendy says basically that the last time she saw Karen, Stacy dropped a bomb on her that Karen was talking very poorly about her. Then when it came to the reunion, Karen thanked everybody on the stage but her. And that's when they flashed back to the reunion. And Wendy was like, that's not my friend. And she was like, after the reunion, Karen went to jail. So we have not talked. The only person who has been like helping us figure out what's going on with Karen while she's in jail is Cookie. And so then Wendy tells me, Monique, that, Cookie and Giselle are like really good friends. Monique makes this face like, girl, for real? Like, really? What? And that's when Monique explains that she met Cookie back in 2007, that she actually introduced Karen to Cookie. So Cookie and Karen aren't even like lifelong friends like that. But pretty much Cookie was invited to her husband's or her ex-husband's birthday party, and they became friends. And she's just like, Cookie is a demonic entity and she's not to be trusted. And Wendy's like, really? And so she brings up how Cookie lied about being Chuck Brown's daughter. And I'm not gonna lie, I've heard that rumor before. Like, even though I grew up in Northern Virginia, I never heard of Cookie, but I know who Chuck Brown is. We used to have go-go parties and stuff like that. But I do remember people saying, like, when Chuck Brown passed away, that like his daughter was there. And I remember people posting pictures of Cookie. So I assumed that she was his daughter, but Monique is like, that is not his daughter. Like, she's like, if you'll lie about that, you'll lie about anything, because that's something you can easily Google. And I was like, that is true. That is true. So they do show Cookie being at I think Monique's rainbow party. So she has been around for a while. So then they start talking about Stacy. And basically Monique tells Wendy, you might need to watch your back with Stacy, because Wendy basically says she really loves Stacy. She doesn't think anything that Stacy does is malicious, but Stacy does need to acknowledge that the way that she moves in the group is the reason why people have like weird feelings about her. And Monique is just kind of like, well, why would you want to be friends with someone like that? And I was kind of looking at Monique like, why do you have so much to say, and why are you telling her to take a step back from Stacy, if not that you're listening to what Ashley has to say about Stacy? Because you don't know this lady. So moving on from that scene, we get this scene of Timu, Arabella, Stacy, and Tia. They're basically at swim practice for Arabella. It looks like she does like competitive, swimming competitions and stuff like that. Tia wants to invite Stacy and Timu to a couple's date, a triple date, where it's like Wendy, Eddie, her, and Rob and Timu. You can clearly tell that he's not comfortable with the cameras. Stacy was telling him to smile, and he's like, I am smiling. When Tia was over there, he wasn't really looking at the camera. He was kind of like trying to inch away from them. And then when she was talking to them, he just, you could tell he's not comfortable. They basically lie and say that he's leaving the country, like he's going out for like a work trip, so he won't be around. And then Stacy adds to it saying like, oh, he won't be back until Wednesday, when honestly all Stacy needed to say was that like, oh yeah, he won't be around. Then he ends up leaving early from the swim practice, and Stacy actually tells Tia that she feels like she was a safe space for her to introduce Timu to her, which I felt like was disrespectful towards Wendy, because Wendy has been defending you this entire season. So I don't know why she would say that, other than maybe she's still worried about Wendy's loyalty to Giselle, that she felt like maybe she would run back and like tell Giselle something, because Tia is new to the group. Maybe she doesn't feel like they have that relationship to do something like that. But she says that, and she tells Tia that like Timu is still kind of uncomfortable with the group, so that's why she wanted to introduce her to him, like a soft launch. She also explains how she's not really going to be bringing him around the group, and she was like, if she wants to bring him around the group, she will, but she'll bring Timu around when Giselle brings her men around. And I said, touche. Like, Giselle can't be harping about everyone being honest and transparent about what's going on in their lives. And we just recently found out that you have a sister. You showed your brother on the show, like, I think season 2 or 3, or maybe 4. No, I think it was season 4. We find out that you have a contentious relationship with your stepmother. On top of that, girl, you're dating a bunch of men that we don't know about. So yeah, girl, when your men come around, or you bring somebody around that's actually an actual relationship, not some like PR situationship like that boy from Summer House or Winter. No, I think he's from Winter House. Then I'll bring my man around. So I'm not mad at Stacey, but I think she just should have been honest with Tia instead of the whole white lie about Timu leaving. She just, or like flying out the country. She should have just been like, look, he's not comfortable with the cameras yet. So I'm not going to be bringing him around. But I wanted to have you meet him because I feel like you're a safe space, and call it a day. So the next thing we have is of Giselle with her daughter Grace, and then I guess her event planner Brent. I think that's how you say his name, or Bryant. No, I think it's Bryant. Bryant. Pretty much, they're decorating the event space for the Reasonably Shady party. Giselle is upset because Robin is not coming. And you could tell that Giselle was upset without her even admitting that she is not happy, is because she lets it be known that Robin doesn't want to come because she feels some type of way about the way that she left the show. And Giselle was like, I respect her feelings. And I understand how she feels and stuff, but I'm not happy about this because she does not think it's a good look. And it doesn't feel good that she left her hanging when this party is for them. Like, it's their podcast, you're co-host together. You should have been at the party. And I do believe she should have been at the party. Like, girl, this event is for you. It's not some like random Potomac event that somebody is throwing, or Giselle is throwing, or Ashley is throwing. Girl, it's an event for a business that you have with your friend that has been very lucrative. Like, suck it up, Robin. Like, you were all throughout BravoCon. Why couldn't you be here? Like, girl. And honestly, Robin can't blame anybody but herself. Like, you should have shared what you and Juan were going through. Yes, it's embarrassing, but like a lot of people pointed out, Karen's DUI was on full display, even though she lied about it. Wendy went to BravoCon with this insurance fraud situation. We don't know how it's about to go down, but at least she showed up. Robin could have did the same thing. And I think what really sealed her fate was that paywall. Like, if she would have just released like a YouTube video or sat down, well, she did sit down with Andy. If she would have just revealed everything to Andy on Watch What Happens Live, I do think Robin would still be here on the show. So we end up seeing the couple's date with Tia, Rob, Wendy, and Eddie. We find out that Tia has never been to Chicago, which I think is weird because you've been married to this man for 17 years and you've never been to Chicago. Yeah, that's not cute. Um, Eddie and Wendy have known each other since they were 17. He tried to talk to her when they were that young. She wasn't feeling him because he didn't have a car, which is a good point. But when they went to college, she was like, "Oh, he a man now," and she caught the feelings and the vibes. Um, they start talking about Stacy because Wendy was under the impression Stacy was coming, and then that's when Tia reveals that pretty much Stacy said that she was a safe space to introduce Timu to her, and that she felt like she was the safest in the group. Wendy is taken aback by this and offended, which is totally understandable. Um, she goes on to say that basically she told me that Timu wasn't going to be in town. So Wendy calls Stacy on speaker. She lets her know that she's on speaker because she's like, "Girl, I'm here with Tia and Rob." And she was like, "Well, girl, where's Timu?" And she was like, "Well, he's flying back in. Like, he just got back in today." And then Tia's like, "Girl, you told me he wasn't coming back till Wednesday. And you also said that I was the safest space for you." So now Tia feels some type of way because she caught Stacy in a lie. And she was like, "Girl, you just blatantly lied to my face. And I've been trying to give you the benefit of the doubt since I got in this group. But no, you really are a liar." And so then Stacy tries to like flip it on Tia, being like, "Tia, I don't appreciate trying to come in between my relationship with Wendy. And Wendy, I am so sorry because you have been a good friend to me and you are a safe space." So then Wendy said, "Okay, girl, we're gonna have a conversation about this later." But yeah, Stacy, you got caught. You got caught. So then Tia also reveals to Wendy that Angel is still upset about the whole catfishing comment, and she feels as though Wendy is the one that said the catfishing comment. Wendy is like, "Girl, no, I did not." They show a flashback of Angel talking about this, and you can tell that everyone is over it. Like, even Kiana is looking at her like, "Girl, let it go." um Everyone's tired of it. And pretty much Wendy is like, "Girl, I didn't say it. I explained it to her when she got an attitude, but I did not say that she was a catfish." She also says in her confessional, Angel can go F herself, her and that camo, because everyone's tired of Angel. Because, girl, what? So now it is time for the reasonably shady party. And we're going to hit this real quick, faster than this. Angel decides to have a conversation with Giselle. She still feels some type of way about the whole catfish situation. She appreciates that Giselle apologized to her, but she feels like the exchange between her and Wendy have been very mercurial in nature. We remember, what's her name? Jennifer Tilly saying that's how Sutton is, very up and down. That's what mercurial means. Like, I don't think it means erratic, but I think it means like spotty. Giselle is looking at her like, "Girl, why are you talking to me? This party is about me, and I don't really care about what you got going on." But she was like, "Okay, hopefully you and Wendy can have a conversation, Angel." And I said, "Girl, Angel, you keep making things look worse for you." Then we see Wale get there. Wale was some boy off of Love Hotel. I told y'all I didn't watch that, but this felt like planted by Ashley because based off of what we saw on the show, Wale and Ashley were like, dating on the show together. Like, he was one of the contestants in the running of like being the person she left the hotel with. He didn't leave the hotel with her because she was just like, "I can't give you this rose. So we moving on." And he came to the party. He ignored her for a while, then went and spoke to her. And this just felt like maybe Ashley invited him or he came there to be shady. Either way, I did not care. I didn't care. Okay. We then see Stacy get there. Girl, when I tell you Stacy put her big girl panties on and she was not playing with the girls, Vivian is there. Stacy goes over to Vivian to have a conversation. She pats the lady on the head. I screamed. I said, Stacy, do not be patting people. That's a grown adult. She was like, you look beautiful. She was like, let's talk. Let's talk. And so then Stacy says in a confessional, I see Vivian and she's just like, I just wanted to let her know, girl, I see you. I know you here. The friendship is where it's at and it is what it is, girl. So she was like, I'll pat your hair down and I'll send you on your way. And that's what she did. That's how I know Stacy was coming in there. Stacy was on some like, I'm about to get everybody straight. So then she decides that she wants to have a conversation with Tia. And she's like, Tia, can I have a conversation with you? But before they have a conversation, that's when Giselle lets it be known that Robin is not there. Everyone kind of looks at this as a like Robin taking an L. Like Wendy is like, where is Robin? Still sleeping on that couch? And they flash back to Robin sleeping on the couch. Then you have Ashley saying, like, Robin puts on a good face, but she is very soft, but this isn't a good look. And then you have Jazzy saying, like, girl, why couldn't you be here to support your friend? It was very simple. So then that's when Stacy's like, Tia, can we have a conversation? So she takes Tia to the side with Wendy, and then the rest of the women come, and she basically tells Tia, I feel like you act one way when we're in the group and one way when we're not in the group. Tia says basically, like, girl, when we first met, I was really trying to toe the line with you. But, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to meet you, your daughter, and your husband. And I was really interested in getting to know you, but now I'm not interested. She was just like, the way that you report yourself to be is not who you are, Stacy. Like you lied at dinner, you're a liar. Like that's just what you are. And then she's like, you have a problem. And then Stacy's like, it seems like you have a problem with me. And then that's when Tia said, don't let this accent fool you, girl. Like what everybody said about you is true. You are a liar. So Giselle's in the back clapping and like, good for you, Tia. And so then Stacy starts clapping at Tia like, okay, girl, bravo, bravo. And then Giselle points to Stacy saying, girl, that's rude. That's very rude. Okay. So um Tia's in her confessional saying Stacy acts like a friend, but she's really a we then see inflatable size titties, greasy hair Cookie pull up to the party. Kiana, Miss Eager Beaver, to start a moment with Stacy, decides to bring up the whole like she called Chris Samuels thing. And everyone's looking at Kiana. Stacy's looking really confused. And Kiana's like, Monique shared with us her healing journey. And next thing you know, I'm getting a call saying that Chris Samuels is upset, saying that she said that he had bad sex and he was a piece of meat. And Stacy, why would you tell Chris this stuff? And Stacy's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So then Cookie comes to the table and she was like, where is this information coming from? Like, what are you talking about? Like, who told you this? Like, where did you get this from? And Cookie's like, don't be stupid. It was a phone call. Don't get stupid with me. So then Wendy jumps into the conversation because we find out that's when they reveal that Cookie told Kiana this information. And Wendy's like, look, I had to sit down with Monique, and Monique told me if Cookie's around, she don't want to be around because Cookie be lying. So what are we talking about? So she was like, if we're going to have a conversation about Monique, Monique needs to be here for this conversation. And so then Stacy points at Cookie, and Cookie was like, don't you point your finger at me. And then Stacy's like, I'll point my finger wherever I want to point. And she kept doing it. And then she turned her finger over and flicked her off. Then she pushed Giselle out the way and got real close to Cookie. And I was like, Giselle, move out the way so Stacy could get closer. And Stacy was just like, what's up? And Cookie's getting real irate, and you got Kiana saying, Cookie, calm down. Cookie, calm down. And Cookie's like, girl, I will point my, no, Stacy's like, girl, I will point my finger wherever I want to point. And I said, come on, Detroit. That's the big D, the big Detroit. I don't know. All I know is I was happy that Stacy was not scared of Cookie. Because I'm like, girl, who are you? Who are you? Girl, I'm a full-time cast member. If I tell security to get you up on out of here, they will escort you out. And what happened? She got escorted out of the party. Oh, dummy. And mind you, I know Cookie is Karen's proxy, but I'm looking at Karen. If you see the way the fans are reacting to Cookie, I hope you don't come back on this show acting stupid, Karen. I hope you don't, because Cookie doing too much and she look crazy. Your friend looks crazy with her greasy wet hair. So next thing you know, like I said, they escort Cookie out of the party. Then Kiana gets upset because Stacy's like, Kiana, what is it with you and me? Like, girl, What she was like, no matter how much you say it, it's not true. And then Kiana's like, nothing you say is true. So then Stacy's like, okay, girl, kudos to you. You know, whatever it comes to me, you always get hyped. Like when you're talking to everybody else, you're at a 0. But for me, you take it up to a 2. So congratulations to you. I said, ooh, come on, Stacy. And then she was like, you know, I'm happy for you, boo. I'm really happy for you, boo. So then Kiana's like, Stacy, your character is flawed. Your character is flawed. And she was like, I should have never trusted you around my husband. And then Stacy's like, girl, you don't have one. When I tell you Stacy gagged Kiana was like stuck. Wendy was cackling, trying not to like really laugh. Jazzy's eyes got big as hell. Like she was like, oh, like mouth wide open, mouth wide open. And like everybody else was trying their best not to laugh at her, but she got her. Like Kiana couldn't say nothing to Stacy. And I said, Kiana, why do you keep fighting with a woman who wraps you up so easily? She didn't even have to elevate her voice until you started yelling, just looking crazy. But Stacy ate. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Happy holidays, you know. Have a good time with your friends and family. Again, if you are celebrating the holidays alone, know that you're not alone, and it's okay if you wanted to be alone, as long as you eat some good food, watch some good movies, read a good book, and just have a good time being grateful. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.